Immigrants are eating our swans and our carp, apparently. Let's get into it. Okay, let's listen to the Nigel then.
If I said to you that swans were being eaten in royal parks in this country, that carp were being taken out of ponds and eaten in this country by people who come from cultures that have a different... Would you agree it's happening here?
I've certainly read... I didn't know about swans. I've read about carp in fish.
Well, there you go. So, look, you know, neither of us can prove or disprove.
Who are taking the carp and the swans?
People who come from countries where that's quite acceptable to do so.
Well, I've read headlines that it's Eastern Europeans, Romanians and people like that.
So I believe.
Is that what you've heard?
So I believe.
Okay, well, that's interesting, and no one can prove or deny. Except, of course, we can. I'll tell you an interesting story about swans in a minute, about my flying career. A mate of mine actually hit a swan. I'll bit on in a minute.
What is going on here? He's on that swan, man.
Mate, leave it alone. What's up?
What's his name, mate? What's his name?
I get angry with people touching the king's swans. That's right. All the swans in the country belong to the monarch. Now, I had a mate of mine called Dell. When I was flying at Valley on the Hawk T1 that the Red Arrows use, it looks like this. He was flying at low level and he hit a swan. He had to write a note to the Queen at the time, Queen Elizabeth II, apologising for hitting the swan. And she wrote back to him saying, "Don't worry about it, I've got quite a few." Now, the royal parks have written back to kind of disagree with this, and they've gone, hang on a second, about swans being eaten by Eastern Europeans. The Reform leader has accused migrants living in the UK of taking both carp and swans, a protected species, from ponds in Britain's royal parks and killing them and then eating them. That's the last bit, and eating them. If you look at the top, by the way, Ground News will actually give you the bias in this article. It's a little bit right, I think, more than left. But if you want some ground news, check your biases, then hit my sponsor in the middle of this video. The Royal Parks has rejected Nigel Farage's claim that migrants are killing and eating swans from their grounds. The RSPCA, by the way, who do not care about the delivery of halal products, like masked up as products that we can eat, they're all halal, of course, has obviously it's completely useless and it's taken over by bloody extremists, isn't it? Has poured cold water on the claim, saying a video that has been circulating on social media was from 15 years ago. So I'll stop you there. Now, I'm not the cleverest bloke in the world, but even if it was from 15 years ago, they were still eating swans. Right. It does show migrants eating a swan then. And the RSPCA actually did put this out. In the United Kingdom, reports have emerged of swans being captured, killed and eaten, with some accounts attributing the activity to migrants. The Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, RSPCA, has been involved, with one worker reportedly witnessing migrants consuming swans, mate. Consuming swans. Here we go. Some people stopping some other people.
What you do with that? Yeah. What you doing with that, bro?
It's not a swan, mate. It's a goose, isn't it?
Yeah. You catch it outside.
Yeah.
You can't just take birds off, mate. This is not. We're supposed to be a civilized country. Do you know, that's not a swan, mate. I can recognise a swan. It's not a swan.
I'm going to get someone to check what bird this is. I think it might be a swan. I'm not sure. But do you know what a swan is, sir? You know the big white birds that you see on the park?
Yeah.
Hershey heads to the kitchen to take a closer look at what's cooking.
You see the bones in this bird? Because it's not a chicken, I'm a bit concerned. There's a law against people taking animals off. You told them that, yeah. And it's very serious. It's very serious if that happens.
Concerned that what's in the pot is no chicken, Hershey heads to the back garden to look for evidence in the bins.
I know, it's a bit disgusting, isn't it?
And the contents of the bins is a little suspicious.
You see, the problem is there's a hell of a lot of big white feathers in here. Yeah. I know. And problem is, could be anything from goose to swan. For now, I'm going to go.
Yeah, what's that, a seagull? Mate, you're dragging a seagull. What are you doing, you dickhead? You're dragging a seagull down the road. A quick advert for Ground News, who sponsored this channel, luckily, because YouTube ain't giving me no money, fam. You know what I'm talking about. All the stories you'll find on the front page here that are current. However, you can search for stuff in the bar at the top. When you click on a story, then it will show you here, look, what's left-leaning, centre or right-leaning. It's a right-leaning story. Let's click on it. And then straight away it gives you a summary at the top there. All the stories here, down there. You can even expand it for more articles if you want at the bottom. On the right here, it shows that there's 34 articles. There's 5 left, 14 right, and then there's 5 centre. Below it then, the bias distribution shows that this is a right-leaning article. And you can see here, Fox News, Israel, all that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Here, factuality, expand that. You can see which ones are more more factually correct than others, and so you can see who owns it as well. Where are your biases in this? Click on the article if you want. You'll go straight to that website then, and at the top you can see there's a bar that drops down as well, again showing where these biases are. You can then look at left-leaning articles and right-leaning articles and not get sidetracked by the mainstream media. 40% off, thank me later. Now, halal food is being served to us without us even realising. We were never asked, mate, you know, we were never asked. Now, I did go through a little bit talking about kosher food and halal food. I got it a bit wrong and I apologise to some Jewish dudes, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Are you looking for halal food on campus? Newcastle University says all chicken and beef products cooked and produced on campus are halal in accordance to EU standards. I'm a Christian man. Now, nothing in my religion says that I shouldn't eat halal food, other than the fact that I might not see it as morally correct. So in that respect, I want to be told, I want to see it labelled when it's halal. Let's have a look at Swansea Council.
In Swansea, all the meat we provide, for example, is currently halal. Hi, I'm Kelly Small. I'm the Head of Education Planning and Resources in Swansea Council. So I'm responsible for the education budget, and the catering service is under that as well. Something I mentioned to colleagues earlier, in Swansea, all the meat we provide, for example, is currently halal. So I don't know if that would have, you know, an impact through the bill.
So have a look at this lady here, Kelly Small. She's responsible then for the resourcing and the planning and the budget of Swansea Council. She's also responsible for the catering. The catering she's responsible for. It's all halal. That is the face of a woman who has socialised the blame. Everyone is responsible for this, is what she is saying. And it's great, mate. It's glorious because they're all being found out. They live in the United Kingdom and they unfortunately are surrounded by Welshmen and Englishmen and Scotsmen and Irishmen. We don't tolerate this kind of level of bullshit, mate. You know what I mean? So you've been lying to us, basically. Let's have a look at Aldi. So Aldi have said, look, thanks for reaching out. It's good to hear from you. No, we don't sell halal or kosher certified meat. It's our rule that animals used for our own label meat must be pre-stunned, and we follow legal regulations for all product labelling. That's a fact. That's a fact. This is an issue now. Our amazing core range fresh meat is 100% British and is red tractor assured. It means you should know exactly what's happened to your food before it reached your plate. You should know exactly what happened to your food before it reached your plate. And that meets standards set for British safety, hygiene, animal welfare, etc., etc., etc. And that's interesting because Catherine Blakelock is doing a lot of work on this right now. And what she is finding is a lot of supermarkets are just labelling their meat as normal meat, as we'd expect it to be pre-stunned, like good UK citizens, and it's not. It's all halal. It's all halal. And that's quite interesting because we do need better labelling, because kosher meat, meat for Jewish people, is reaching non-kosher markets. And then when it is non-stunned, it's kosher slaughtered cattle. A lot of it's being rejected if it's bruised or that kind of stuff. They can't eat the rear of the animal apparently like that, and it's reaching markets. Now, we shouldn't be eating this meat if we're not Jewish people. Now, the exemption for both Muslim halal meat and Jewish is caveated by additional guidance on religious slaughter, which states that meat from animals slaughtered without stunning should be intended for consumption by Jews or Muslims. And one of the reasons apparently that the RSPCA don't seem that interested in looking at the way the animals are stunned, this man here says, for some time we're involved in animal rights actions, and that's why I joined X in the first place. The whole animal rights movement was then taken over by fascists and communists, and we couldn't reason with them. I dared to say we were Christians and the abuse we got was awful, so we walked away. We still support animal rights because we hate cruelty, but we'll never join any so-called animal rights groups ever again. They were and are vile and use animal rights to brainwash young people. Well, that's not a lie, is it? And Catherine's bringing some legal action against this, really, to try and sort it out. You can go on a GoFundMe and support it if you want. From our surveys, roughly 70%, 70% of meat sold in UK supermarkets is religiously slaughtered. This is humane and breaks existing laws. Religious slaughter legislation limits meat to be killed by Muslims and Jews, for Muslims and Jews. And Muslim Jews, they make up 7% of the British population, not 70%. The reason that this is happening, of course, it's just easier to just do it this way for all meat because we're not going to complain about it because we're just such a tolerant nation. And this is the problem, guys. This is the problem. It's these little things that we allow to happen. And before you know it, then Muslims have taken over the entire country. And that is a big, big issue. I made a mistake as well by criticising Jews over this. Let me just have a look at this. To be fair, I said this is wrong. We mustn't accept this. Catherine is doing great work here, exposing how we are pandering to Muslims and Jews in our Christian country. This will stop. This is England. I made a mistake there because, as I was corrected, the Jews never demanded our submission to kosher. It stayed with them. That's the difference. I looked into that, and that is the truth. They never demanded it, but Muslims did. A lot of the action is by basically their inaction. This guy corrects me, says, correct, big fan of FJP, but on this he's wrong. Non-fresh meat kosher food is clearly marked and on dedicated shelves in supermarkets. That's actually true, and I've seen it. Jews buy their meat from kosher butchers. I know, I used to go to my grandpa. I wrote back, if that is the case then, mate, you know what I mean? I apologise. I'll look into this more closely. I'm happy to say I'm wrong when I'm wrong, right? He said, no worries. I'm one of those Jews who's frustrated by what some of my lot get up to. Well, you all are, mate. It's getting a bit freaky-deaky out there, but most of us are not like that. He says, I'm a big fan of your channel, blah. I said, I'll do a video on this. I'll make it clear so as not have any confusion or negativity towards the Jewish community over this. Enjoy the flying. They make up 250,000 people in the UK, Jews. In the military, per capita, they make up a lot more, by the way. Now, Muslims make up 4 to 6 million. We don't know. It's between 6.5% and 10% of the population. But in the military, there's only 600 of them, you know what I mean? So Jews contribute a lot more to the protection of this country than Muslims do. I'll just say that. And what Catherine's really saying is you put a few breadcrumbs on the meat, you don't have to have any traceability with it. This is actually outrageous. I'm going to leave this video now. So if you come to the UK, all I'm going to say is, mate, stop nomming the swans and stop nomming the carps. And if you have come here, and primarily if you're a Muslim, could you please just get your meat labelled so I haven't got to eat it as a Christian man? Don't particularly believe in your barbaric medieval practices, whether it's in what you do with other nations or whether you do with this nation or what you do with the meat that you consume. I don't want anything to do with it, mate. I don't particularly want you here as well. Islam has no place in the West, and nor does the way you slaughter the food. You want to keep that to yourself, mate. Literally, you're treading a difficult path here. It's a very, very fine line. I'm not happy with Islam right now. You know it. Tim Davies, Fast Ship Performance.